bit of submarine history from the time of Alexander the Great of ancient Greece. He lived around 330 BC. He was also, there was a prophecy about Alexander the Great from the time of the prophet Daniel, given to him by the archangel Gabriel while they were in exile in Babylon. And that was about 490 BC. But let's remember that the ancient Greeks also had the Antikythera device, which was like an astrolabe, was like a celestial clock. So we know that they had a lot of technology. This has to do with travel and transport underwater and having to do with maritime, of course. Submarines. The submarine has a much older history than humans think. For example, the airplane, and it's tormenting to think of many inventors in ancient times. It appears, though, that submarines were built around the beginning of the 7th century, but the idea of submarine was even older. Aristotle mentions that Alexander the Greek, we know that Aristotle was Alexander the Greek's tutor, mentor, his teacher. And Aristotle mentions that Alexander the Great, more than 300 years before the birth of Christ, used the first submarine in the siege of Tyre. In 1620, a Dutchman named Cornelius Drebbel surprised London with a submarine which several passengers boarded it, including King James I and the First of England and Scotland. But after a few years earlier, around 1530, a monk came up with the idea of building a submarine ship made of metal so that it would be waterproof and able to withstand the pressure of water. And according to his plans, a submarine was indeed built, which to some extent proved to be applicable. And in 1537, a warship with 20 cannons, 80 sailors, and many sacks of gold exploded due to an internal explosion and sank in the port of Dieppe. A few years later, a Frenchman, John Barry, named Pradin, built, under the instructions of the old monk, a submarine with which he promised to pull the bags of gold and silver from the bottom of the port of Dieppe, but also a few telegrams from the shipwreck. The great Frenchman, mathematician, physicist, writer, and philosopher Blaise Pascal, a young child at the time, was an eyewitness to Pradin's experiments, which continued until 1630 with successful results. And this was an article published in a newspaper called Athens on the 26th of June, all the way back from 1916. This is translated for you from a Greek article, Diadrastika. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.